Good evening, and welcome to the January 12th, 2026 meeting of the Menlo Park Planning Commission. I am Chair Andrew Eric, and I thank you for joining us this evening, either remotely or here in council chambers. Established by state law, our city's Planning Commission is composed of 7 volunteer residents of Menlo Park, appointed to 4-year terms by the City Council. Our Planning Commission is not a policy setting body, that's the City Council. We are a policy implementing body. We review development proposals for compliance with our city's general plan and zoning ordinance, which can both be found on the city's website. The Commission also reviews city-initiated land use planning projects, such as general plan updates and zoning ordinance amendments. The Commission reviews development proposals requiring a use permit, architectural control, a variance, minor subdivision, as well as the environmental reviews associated with those projects. When applicable, the Planning Commission reviews below market rate or BMR housing agreements associated with these applications. The Commission is the final decision-making body for these applications unless appealed to the City Council. The Commission also serves as the recommending body to the City Council for major subdivisions, rezoning, conditional development permits, zoning ordinance amendments, general plan amendments, and environmental reviews associated with those projects. If applicable, the Planning Commission reviews and makes recommendations on BMR agreements associated with those projects. Staff in our city's planning division are responsible for processing development applications, as well as for both implementing and amending the general plan, zoning ordinances, and related policies in order to further the goals of the city. Staff is also responsible for the agenda of our regular Planning Commission meetings and for prioritizing what and when agenda items or development applications come before the Planning Commission. Planning commissioners do not have any ability to place items on the agenda for these meetings. We encourage your active participation, whether you are an applicant or interested member of the public. And there will be an opportunity to speak publicly for each specific agenda item, as well as for general public comment. With that, I will call the roll. Commissioner Baruzzi.
Present.
Commissioner Doe.
Here.
Commissioner Schindler.
Here.
Commissioner Sillen.
Present.
Vice Chair Silverstein.
Present.
I am Chair Eric, and I am present. So we have 6 commissioners in chambers, which is a quorum. 1 commissioner is absent. The next item on our agenda is reports and announcements. Ms. Sandmeyer, good evening. Are there any staff reports or announcements this evening?
Good evening, Chair Eric and commissioners. At tomorrow's City Council meeting, there will be an update on the city's Middle Avenue pedestrian and bicycle rail crossing project. And that concludes my updates, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Sandmeyer. Do commissioners have any questions about those announcements or announcements of their own? Okay, then we will move to item D, the public comment portion of our agenda. Under public comment, the public may address the commission on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. You are not required to provide your name, district, or city of residence, but it is helpful. The commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore the commission cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. Please know that if you are here tonight to comment on one of our agenda items, you will have a chance to speak when we get to that item in the agenda. To learn how to participate in public comment tonight, I'm going to turn to our clerk this evening, Ms. Roy, to explain how you can participate and then to please begin the public comment period.
Thank you, Chair Eric, commissioners and members of public. Monica Roy, planning technician. At this time, we are opening public comment period for the items not listed on this agenda. If you are in the council chamber and you'd like to speak, please fill out a comment card and hand it over to me. For those who are attending virtually via Zoom, please click the raised hand button. And if you are calling by phone, please press *9 on your keypad and you will be able to speak. At this moment, I don't have any comment cards or hand raised. We can wait for a few more moments if you like.
Okay, I'm going to close the public comment portion of our agenda. The next agenda item is our consent calendar. Tonight, there is one item on the consent calendar. Ms. Roy, could you please provide instructions regarding public comment on this agenda item and open the public comment period for the consent calendar?
Thank you again. As a reminder, we are opening public comment for this item. If you are in the council chamber and you would like to speak, please fill out a comment card and hand it over to me. If you are attending virtually via Zoom, please click the raised hand button. And if you are calling by phone, press *9 on your keypad and you will be able to speak. At this moment, I don't have any hand raised or comment cards, so I can wait a few more moments if you'd like.
Okay, I'm going to close the public comment period for the consent calendar and ask if any of my fellow commissioners would like to pull this item from the consent calendar. Okay, in that case, I would welcome a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I move to approve the consent calendar as submitted in the staff report.
Thank you. Second. Okay. Seeing no further questions, I'm going to call for a show of hands vote on the consent calendar. All in favor of approving the motion, please raise your hand. The consent calendar is approved unanimously with 6 in favor and 1 commissioner absent. Okay, we are now going to move to item F1, which is the first public hearing item. This application was withdrawn by the applicant, so there is actually no action before the commission tonight. The item will be noted as withdrawn, and we do not need to take public comment because there is no action before the commission tonight. Which means that we will move to our public meeting item G1. This item concerns an architectural control at 896 Middle Avenue. At this public hearing, the commission may consider and adopt a resolution to approve an architectural control permit to modify the exterior of an existing multifamily development in the R3 zoning district at 896 Middle Avenue. The modifications would include new lap and shingle siding, belly bands, and corner trims. Additionally, the existing wood battens at the deck railings would be replaced with horizontal lap siding and the buildings would be repainted. The modifications would not affect the gross floor area or number of units. Determine this action is categorically exempt under CEQA guidelines section 15301's class 1 exemption for existing facilities. I believe Mr. Toy is the project planner for this item, so I'll turn to you, Mr. Toy, to ask if there are any updates to the staff report.
Thank you, Chair Eric. There are no updates to the staff report.
Okay. In that case, I believe we have some of the applicant team here in person. They are not planning a presentation, but they are available to us to answer questions. Thank you for being here tonight. Before we move to public comment on this item, do any commissioners have any clarifying questions for staff or the applicant? Okay. Ms. Roy, can I please ask you to provide instructions regarding public comment and start the comment period for item G1?
Thank you, Chair. Once again, we are opening public comment period for this item. As a reminder, if you are in the council chamber and you'd like to speak, please fill out a comment card and hand it over to me. For those who are attending virtually via Zoom, please click the raised hand button. And if you are calling by phone, press *9 on your keypad and you will be able to speak. At this moment, I don't have any comment card or hands raised. I can wait a few more moments if you'd like.
Assuming there are still no requests to speak, I'm going to close the public comment period and move us into commission discussion and ultimately a motion regarding the architectural control. And I will look to my fellow commissioners. Commissioner Baruzzi.
I probably could have asked this during clarifying questions, but I just have a couple of things I wondered about. So I was curious about whether or not this change would be considered a substantial modification under California law, such that it would exempt the tenants from, it would sort of be an escape clause for the tenant protection law.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Commissioner Baruzzi. We were able to consult with the city attorney's office on this, and they provided a definition of substantial remodel, which talks about how cosmetic improvements alone and any other minor work that can be performed safely without the residential real property being vacated does not qualify as substantial rehabilitation. From what the applicant has proposed, it doesn't appear that there is anything that would require residents to vacate the property. So staff doesn't believe that it would, this project would fall under that definition.
Okay, thanks. Can I ask the applicant, are you planning on having tenants move out, or are you going to keep them in there while you're doing this work? Thank you.
Sorry, I'm just going to repeat for those who might be watching. The applicant responded that there are no plans to have tenants move out during this construction. I have a question for staff. I realize this was somewhat in the staff report, but I would appreciate just an explicit explanation of why this item needs to come before the Planning Commission for an architectural control.
I believe it is in the buildings chapter of our zoning code. I don't remember the exact wording offhand, but it's because it's a multifamily residential building that it has to come before the Planning Commission for an architectural control for exterior improvements.
Okay, that's what I thought. I will just note that it's disappointing to me that I believe we're holding a different standard essentially for multifamily dwellings than for single family dwellings. If a single family dwelling was doing work akin to this work, I believe it would not be an architectural control and would not need to come before the Planning Commission. And given the city's goals around housing, I think it's unfortunate that our city code is written in such a way that this does need to come before the Planning Commission. And I would ask staff to consider changing that. Commissioner Sillen.
Thanks. Yeah, through the chair, I just want to clarify the answer from staff. So that any exterior work triggers architectural control for multifamily, or are there like certain thresholds that need to be met?
Yeah, so basically it's whenever a building permit is needed on a project that's not single family or duplex. In some cases, if there's previous architectural control, something like repainting could also require architectural control, even though it doesn't require a building permit, if it's changing the look that was previously approved through architectural control.
Got it. Okay. I assume, like, for a multifamily property owner, this is all kind of spelled out somewhere. Like, would they know that repainting would require an architectural control permit or a review?
Yeah, usually applicants will consult with us, and if it's the same property owner who received the previous architectural control permit, they would know because of that.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I guess I would echo the chair's view that this seems somewhat burdensome. And I don't have an answer as to what the new policy should be, but yeah, it does seem kind of like a double standard. And I also would support reviewing this policy. But in the meantime, I don't see an issue with this particular proposal and would be happy to support it pending other comments from other commissioners.
Vice Chair Silverstein.
To take the same line of thought, I've kind of tiptoed around this question in different planning commission meetings, but I might as well ask it explicitly just so I can understand what very tactically would need to happen. What is the functional process to amending the municipal code as it would pertain to the requirement of architectural control for a multifamily dwelling unit? Is that something that I am assuming City Council would need to vote on it, but what happens before that? Who proposes any changes? Who decides what changes we would want to make? I mean, I know that it's been kind of talked about in generalities that we might want to change this or that, but in order for any municipal code change to happen, what steps happen before then?
Well, one option is someone from the public could apply to update the zoning ordinance as part of a project, usually as part of a project. But generally for larger updates, it would be initiated by the city council, who may work with the city attorney or the city manager. So that's generally the process.
So City Council would ask the city attorney or manager to look into something, they would devise a proposal, and then it would go back to City Council for a vote?
Yeah, I think, it depends. There can be different situations, or there could be new state laws that require updates to the code.
Are there circumstances where kind of either staff or the city manager would look through or kind of have an opinion or perspective on outdated or kind of, let's say, burdensome zoning ordinances and then recommend to City Council that they be updated? Or is that not something that staff would have a perspective on?
Yeah, I mean, generally, yeah, we wouldn't propose changes necessarily. I think part of it is also the goal setting that City Council does. And so obviously there's public comments, so members of the public or commissioners can speak as members of the public to propose goals, which could include updating the zoning ordinance.
Thank you.
I have a follow-up question. Can any member of the public apply for to change the zoning ordinance?
They could. I think the barrier would be the expense, and often there's a lot of environmental review that has to be done, and it's a long process.
Would changing this particular zoning code require CEQA review?
Yeah, I think that's something we'd have to look into.
Okay. Seeing no other comments, I would welcome a motion or other comments on this project.
I'd like to propose a motion to approve the project as proposed in the staff report.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. And seeing no other comments, I will call the vote for item G1. Commissioner Baruzzi,
Yes.
Commissioner Doe,
Yes.
Commissioner Schindler,
Yes.
Commissioner Sillen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Silverstein.
Yes.
I am also a yes, so that is 6 votes in favor with 1 absent. Item G1 passes. Okay, and that brings us to informational items. Ms. Sandmeyer, would anyone from staff like to provide an update on upcoming Planning Commission meetings or agendas?
Yes, so the January 26th meeting will be canceled. We don't have any items ready for that meeting. And then the next meeting will be February 9th, and we don't have the agenda confirmed for that yet. But
Okay,
that-
thank you very much. Do
Thank you.
commissioners have any questions about those informational items? Okay, in that case, this meeting is adjourned at 7:20 PM. Thank you very much.